frustrating. I mean, I get it. You guys want to keep. You guys have an overall. You guys want to hold the city. I get that. But in terms of evolution of the residential property, ultimately, the people that want siding and stone. But I do see a lot they share the same kind of views. You realize that leaves it up to the people who show up on doing business public forum. Actually, opposition of this, but does it, don't the city courts but those complaints at some point to be because it just could be much people speaking, right? I'm missing the point that you guys have ultimate good. So let me ask you a question. If I would have been able to show up to speak, which I was, that's what I tried to get away with, it would have changed anything. The issue with that yes. Well, I mean, how can it not be?
Council has come to order, and we'll begin our study session. And before we get to planning and zoning, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Normally, when we open a new facility or something big happens in Parks and Rec, Julia's here, and the council recognizes her, and then she passes that on down to her staff. But tonight, Julia asked several of her staff to come so that you'd be able to recognize them directly. So when I wish you'd stand and be recognized. First one is Scott Williams. He wasn't able to make it. We recognize him.
I'm sure he's standing.
But wherever he is. But he worked with on the outset of the project with CVB, and all of his sports background was key to the new facility. Stacy Welter for technology planning and implementation and budget tracking and equipment. Brock Davis for his parks and maintenance team, especially Gary Burke and Randy Luter for landscaping, median islands, etc., mowing the slopes. Jerry Houchins for the park supervisor. Cade Horrell for the sports and concession operations. Cade couldn't make it.
He's working.
Penny Williams, she couldn't make it either. We all know, says here for marketing, event assistance, and amazing sense of humor, which was important when it came down to to all the stress. Ashley Freed, Diane Boyer, and Wendy Wilson for marketing, administration, and staff support. Jeremy Kuntz and Simon Bennett. New facilities maintenance staff, working so hard. We're just now getting here. Keep working hard. Heather Davis, already standing. Chris Eastridge and Stephanie Mata. So they've taken on the big challenge of taking over taking on this venue and getting the equipment and doing the hiring. And so we want to recognize them. And then Julia, we want to recognize Julia for her leadership in this and taking us through. From a Parks and Rec staff, that's we recognize for the Sportsplex tonight. So I wish you would give them a hand of applause, please. During the time of the groundbreaking, we did also recognize the development services piece of that with the inspectors and the engineering and all that went on into that. And certainly their contribution to that is no small task as well. But that's what we had for tonight. So thank you.
I will say, and I had that on my list on communications for 7 o'clock, but wow, what an opening. We dedicated Jim Drury Way. We did ties and tennies, and that was a great fun event. And what a crowd the day on the Saturday, and there was so much going on around. With Gus Macker was at Arena, and Main Street was opening, and just so much going on that weekend. And then we had a flood too, so there was a lot going on. But to get those things accomplished in the manner that we did, along with all the regular things that are done throughout normal scheduling, well deserved. Thank you to all of them, Julia, to you, and all the staff who communicate to the rest of them on behalf of myself and council and all our citizens. We'll be very proud of the end result.
Thank you all.
There's Scott. I see Scott in the background.
Yeah.
Caden? Hi, Kate. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Okay. Planning and zoning. Trey.
Good evening. First item we had at our last meeting was a request of Joyce Blotner to rezone property at 600 Highland Drive from R3 to R2. She had acquired a little piece of property and rezoning it to R2 fit everything around it. So it was somewhat kind of a cleanup item, and we voted to approve that. There was a subdivision record plat, Deer Creek Ridge subdivision record plat, that we tabled to our next meeting. There was nobody there, and there were several issues that we kind of had some questions on whether or not they were going to be able to correct them. So we tabled that, took no action. And then we had a discussion to make a recommendation to this council as to whether or not Planning and Zoning Commission was going to recommend that shipping containers be used as building materials for property that's going to be occupied and property that's not going to be occupied. And essentially the commission voted by a vote of 4-3 that shipping containers were not to be used as building materials for occupancy purposes. And again, that was a 4-3 vote. And then that shipping containers could be used for non-occupancy purposes if they were going to be made available to the public. And this was again a 4-3 vote the other way. Felt that it should only be allowed in commercial and industrial districts and require a special use permit.
Okay.
Do you have any questions
That
about
was
that? That was
The
it.
only issues? Council questions on containers?
The next step on the container issue is, does it come here or do you have to have a hearing at planning and zoning?
Direction from council.
Okay, so you're looking,
It was my understanding that you guys wanted a recommendation from us, and so that's our recommendation to you all.
Okay,
if that recommendation were to be what they would it then go back to planning and zoning for a hearing and a vote at planning and zoning?
Ordinance to then chapter 30.
Right, okay.
our public hearing back to planning and zoning, and a public hearing at, okay. So the next step would be back to for a public hearing. Any other comments, council? Up and down? No? Okay,
All right.
So is that the, I guess
that's
that's
the consensus
that's the
of the,
consensus of council
Council.
to
Yes,
proceed.
I think a hearing by planning and zoning to consider this is the next step.
Yep.
Personally, I agree with the initiatives you've taken so far. I'd like to see examine a little more detail and then come back to council.
I second that.
So-
Agreed. And I appreciate the work that you and Z put on.
Sure.
so can that, are we far enough along that can be in their June, the P&G June meeting? Yes, no issues there, can go to June, use the
Sounds like
land, okay? So that'll be on the June P&Z, okay? All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you all.
May flood event, and I see the flutter back there in the back, Stan?
Flutter?
Yeah, the flutter. Give us an update.
Glad to report that everything seems to be getting back to normal. We're still in the moderate flood stage of category, but soon we'll be going into the minor stage, so that's good news. Current stage is roughly 37 feet, and 32 is base flood stage, so we're only 5 feet above the base now. So we're getting there. It will take a period of time until sometime early next week before we actually get down to base flood stage. But I'm happy to report that we haven't had any incidents of any consequence. We had one pump where a bearing was messed up, but it didn't hurt anything because of the others that we had. So we're glad of that. Most of the, I guess we still got the Themis gate to open either Friday or Monday, but everything else is opened as of today.
The railroad's open both directions?
Railroad's open on both ends.
And Broadway's open?
Broadway was open this morning and Gary left. I don't know if they got it all cleaned up or not. They were working on that today
Okay. All right.
from the Broadway gate upstream. So hopefully that'll be open to the public either first thing in the morning or sometime tomorrow, depending on how much junk they had to clean up.
All right,
And then the streets guys have been up in Red Star, taking down all the barricades where the roads were closed for water. That's all down, and getting those cleaned up, sprayed off as best we can, and picking up debris. So hopefully they got finished with that today. If not, we'll finish that first thing in the morning. So all those roads in Red Star should be, if they're not open now, it's only because there's mud on them that we haven't got off yet.
what's the disposition of the sandbags?
We will coordinate with the church and a couple of the residents to see about getting those picked up
Okay,
and try to help them out like we did last time.
okay, great.
And hopefully can do that without any major upset.
And I know our forecasted crest was 48.5 and we ended up 45.99.
Right.
How many homes actually got and/or businesses actually got water?
I saw late this afternoon a report from Development Services that doesn't distinguish between business or home, but I think all of these are homes where there were 10 that were affected, and they were all in Red Star.
10
So I
in
don't
Red-
think.
10 in Red Star that had water.
Yes, and according to this, 3 were vacant and 3 more were, I'm sorry, 1 was a business, the auto repair shop.
Yeah.
1 of the 10 was a business.
Across from Red Star Church.
Right.
Yeah.
And the rest were houses. 3 of those were vacant.
Okay.
So not a tremendous impact this time, thank goodness. That 2 feet that we, or 2.5 feet that we didn't get makes a lot of difference in how many structures get hit.
Yeah.
So we're thankful for that.
We had several visitors
Yes.
during the event. Colonel Mitchell was here, and
Congressman
Congressman Smith we had a meeting at the chamber that afternoon with the county and all emergency preparedness. And then the next Wednesday, the general flew in from, General Weir flew in from Vicksburg. And I was in contact all the way through this with my partners in the Mississippi River cities and towns.
Right.
And I will tell you that they are, everyone I mentioned, been very envious of the city of Cape Girardeau. Very envious of the city of Cape Girardeau. That's the good news. The bad news is they think we're so good, we don't need any more money. And we really are getting pretty close.
That one last project, and I didn't get a chance to ask Colonel Mitchell where we stood in the schedule with that, but it should be coming.
Yeah. He told me in Washington in March that was going to be let in June and would be under construction, and yet this year during lower water.
Yeah, anticipate that in the fall.
Yeah. So
Great.
unless this affected it, I don't think it will with
I
the
can't imagine
spring.
it would. Yeah,
But that was a this calendar year project.
great.
I think the letting was supposed to be in June.
Mhm.
He told me that in Washington, so.
I've got a note when I finally get around to it to check with them and see, not with the colonel himself, but
Yeah.
some of my contacts up there
Yeah.
to see where they are in
Yeah,
the
it
process.
wouldn't hurt to push that again.
Yeah, just to see where, so I know what's going on.
But if we could get some monies for a few more buyouts and a couple of roads raised, and boy, we're that close to having even a 48 or 48.5 not being much of an event for us.
That's true.
But we are going to need a few funds. And then I did put in the general's ear that and Scott raised this earlier in budget time, but we're at the stage and the age of the Walker Branch and in the Cape LaCroix Basin of doing more preventive maintenance. That's over our budget capabilities. So we'll be working to get some of those funds.
And if we could get some rehab there, that would be helpful.
Senator Blunt announced $100 million worth of pre-disaster mitigation, which I call not expenses, those are investments. But that's national thing. We're fighting for that up and down the river.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, those monies went elsewhere. They had greater needs than us, but that'll be coming again, and we need to work and fight for those monies in 18, 19, and beyond. Well, and I'm doing too much talking here, but Stan, to you and your team, what a great job.
Well, thank you.
Your protocols, the weekend before when the river wasn't even hardly flowing past here in the 20s, your people were out and that whole weekend and knew exactly what to do and how to do it. And the protocols were followed, and I ran into you and Stacy out by the boat dock on that Sunday. And thank you to you and your team. If you'll pass that along.
I'd be very pleased to do
myself
that.
And all our citizens. I know those were hours that you already had planned for other duties. So this was over and above, but, and then put you behind some probably, but our thanks.
Well, thank you, and I will certainly pass that along to our crew. They have worked hard, and we are delighted, as we told Colonel Mitchell at the gate that day, that we were delighted to be able to stand on dry ground 10 feet from that wall. So we are fortunate.
General Ware mentioned that we were at Wednesday down at Port Cape having a sandwich at noon, and it was still like 46, 45 feet. And there were a whole group of elementary school kids that came in to get ice cream.
Oh, my.
And he mentioned, boy, you can feel really proud that the river's halfway up that wall and you got your elementary kids right on the other side of the street getting ice cream cones.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mentioned
And
that,
you
Wayne.
mentioned the bearing that wasn't working. Any major replacement costs or updates that we're seeing in the immediate future as a result of that?
I don't think anything major. The company that provides the service for that was coming today, and I haven't heard a report as to what it is. It's a submersible pump, pretty standard item, not an unusual thing for those bearings to get a little grit and stuff in them and need to be replaced. Now, our guys can probably do the work. And I don't imagine the bearing will be very expensive. I don't know a report on that, but I'm not expecting anything significant. It may be less than $500. But we'll get that fixed and running. It was one of the small pumps down at Meriwether. So
Okay,
even through this week with the rain coming, we'll still be in good shape.
yeah. Council, other comments?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Stan. Anyone here
Go to the
to,
Humane Society.
pardon?
Go to the Humane Society.
Oh, I didn't have it on here, yeah. Thank you. Humane Society, didn't have you on here.
Good evening, and thank
Should
you.
have, I should have
for
known
letting-
with Charlotte sitting out there. She didn't just come to observe.
I ought to, though, if I could let my animals out ahead of time and come back in. Thank you for letting me take a few minutes of your time. I don't like to just send a request for money. I like for people to know what they're getting for their money. This year, I brought, I think, the entire board, and I'm going to take just a second and introduce them to you. Sam Herndon is on the end. I think most of you, if you've been a Boy Scout, you know Sam. Karen Hannes has been a businesswoman, ran a physician's office for many years, and has been in and out, never on the board, but always with the shelter. Janet Robert, I don't think needs any introduction. Dr. Gwen Freitag is in the Cardinal shirt. She works as a consultant with us and is on the board. Tracy Poston is our director, has been for going on 9 years soon. Lindsay Morales is our new development director. We're pruning her to be the face of the Humane Society. And Everett is our banker from First Community State Bank. So I wanted to be sure that you had a face to go with a name. I did send, by way of Jackie Wimp, a request for this year's budget. And I looked on the date, it's back in, I think it might have been January. And as you know, your calendar year is different than our calendar year.
Right.
But using 2016, our calendar year, you're still going to get a year's worth of statistics. And that's what I used. I did not and can, if you want me to email to your right arm. Bruce. I wanted to say Blake. I can give you from June to July. But in 2016, our calendar year, 1,119 animals from the city of Cape Girardeau came through the shelter. Breaking that down, 371 of those animals were from animal control, and the remainder, whatever that number is, do you remember what that was? That 739, if that adds up to 1,119, came from your residents. They either surrendered an animal, picked a stray up off of the street, or brought an animal in that a non-animal control. Last year, our cost per animal went up, but last year's contract that we are still enjoying with you all reflected the previous year's cost per animal, and it stayed there for about 3 years at $100 per animal per year average cost. And last year it went up, but we kept the contract. And some of you may or may not know what we do for your formula. Any jurisdiction that contracts with us, we calculate our cost and ask the jurisdiction to pay half. So we asked for 55,000 something that we're currently in your calendar year for the animals that you came in, and that's half of the cost to take care of the animals. If everyone didn't see what you get for your dollar, I know some of you've heard my pitch, Wayne, you're awfully good to sit through it again, as is Harry. But you do get to feed, care for, give medicine, 3 to 4 kennel workers clean and daily disinfect every kennel, cat and dog. We vaccinate upon admission. We take care of all the adoptions. We take care of the euthanasia and the cremation, and dealing with the Department of Natural Resources, their guidelines, and how to dispose of the remains, and deal with the inspections of the Department of Agriculture and DNR. We are governed, fall under the jurisdiction of the Department of Agriculture. We are a licensed facility and have a book that we have to go by. We've never failed an inspection. We always get dinged a little bit, but I remember the WIC inspections at the health department when you never do a perfect job. Somebody's got to, and there's always room for improvement. So essentially, it leaves any jurisdiction that's dealing with us, their animal control, or you all, it's basically what I call a turnkey operation. Your guys and gals drop the animals off and you're done after that. Our costs have gone up to $125 per animal. And we have had several board meetings trying to figure out how to be fair and still not lose our shirts. And this is the first year that we are asking jurisdictions for 60% of the cost. I've said this time and time again. I know that I've been around too long with government, and I know that you're restricted with budgets just like anybody else. So can you do that with this year's budget? Gosh, that would be great if you can. If you can't, we'd appreciate goodwill effort to gradually try to get up to that. I anticipate probably being able to hold that as long as possible. I don't even remember how old that formula, it's that formula that we calculate now and use is probably 15, 16 years old. So it's not something that we jack around with. You asked for a copy of the budget, Scott, and I'm sorry, I forgot. These are stapled together. If you take one and pass it down for me. This is this year's budget, 2017. I messed around with the first quarter a couple of days ago, and we're probably right on track. And we're moving forward with our new plans. We've purchased some property behind us that we sold in 1982 so we could keep the doors open. And we bought it back so that we can expand. Can you all think of anything I've left out?
What is the status of the audited financials that we have?
Thank you. I meant to mention that. The audit has begun. It's for the year that we are currently in, and Jim Hillen's company is our accountant, and they are the ones that are doing the audit. It has already started. So as soon as we get that done, I will get it to you.
Do you have a sense of why the cost per animal have gone up so much?
The utilities, the same reason they went up at my house. Food, medicine, veterinarians.
So a range of things, not one particular.
Oh, no. In reality, when I started working and volunteering with the shelter in the 80s, as did a couple of the people that are now back on the board, we were just shy of taking in 6,000 animals. You can see the figures, the total figures in the letter I sent you were just under 3,200. We're doing an incredible job. Have brought the adoption rate for dogs up to 90%. And cats we're working on. In 2014, we adopted 30% of our cats. In 2016, we adopted 52%. So we're doing a better job of taking in animals. the director has gone to a couple of conferences and learned from other areas. Let's take an example of 28 feral cats. It's not uncommon to say, well, okay, we can help you out, but bring them in next Wednesday when the veterinarian will be here, because you cannot adopt out a feral cat. So doing a better job of taking animals in, doing a better job of spaying and neutering. We have a donor that helps us go out into this community, and then we've reached out to Dexter and spaying and neutering, actually spaying dogs and cats with that donor's money, and we're writing a grant to Best Friends to find money to neuter animals, and that is making a difference. But the cost itself is the same reason that it went up at my house.
So you're now, this is your calendar year, right?
Our calendar year is January 1 through December 30th.
Yeah, so you're into your 5th month of this,
Yes, sir.
of this budget.
Yeah, and we're pretty close to,
And you feeling comfortable with both the income and expense numbers this far into the
it's
year?
comfortable. We don't have guaranteed income. And so when I look at the average, which is what I do, I never feel very comfortable. I'll be real
Okay,
frank
but,
with you.
and your contracts are, that 125,000 are your current contracts
Yeah.
that you have in hand, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Since you are a calendar year and we're a fiscal year, when you start your budget, we're starting to look at our next fiscal
Right.
year's budget because we're July through June.
Right.
It might be better for you to present your proposed budget ahead
I try to,
of
Mr.
when
Rudiger.
of when we go to budget planning.
Yeah, I think we had that, I think we built that into our budget, John. You built in the ongoing into the existing budget when you built that in, or did you build in the ask?
Pardon?
We built in what we paid last year.
Okay, last year. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Does that mean that's what we're getting?
That's what's in the budget now.
Yeah,
If
that's what's in the
council
budget
asks
now, yeah.
to change it, then we certainly,
I hope you will entertain the idea of changing it. I'll come anytime, any day. I respond as soon as I am asked to respond. I'll come again tomorrow for next year's budget if I need to.
yeah.
I learned my lesson several years ago. So
That's the reason
if
you're
I'm
here
behind the
tonight.
times, it's not my fault.
Yeah,
that's the reason you're here tonight,
Yep.
is to
Okay.
present that. I failed to write it down. What did you say the average cost is now?
Now, $125
25.
per
Okay.
animal, $6.24 per day. Average day, 20 days.
And you're asking for 60% of the 125.
Yeah. And I don't know if you all read the note I sent, but we did incur with the credit card system, and Bruce and I have gotten that straightened out. I did not realize that there would or could have been an option, but we spent a little over $2,000 getting paid with the credit card. We had to pay to get paid. And if that could be made up, that'd be great. If it can't, I understand.
Can you explain that again?
Well, the city paid by credit card.
Okay.
And we were charged to run the credit card.
We pay by data transfer, electronic
Whatever it
transfer,
is,
right?
but
I would pay, I don't know how we pay it, but if we pay by credit card, it's probably off the P card. that we
Right.
pay for.
Okay.
well, Bruce has arranged for
That-
check, and that's fine.
I was gonna say, credit card fees of 4,000, that's almost 1% of your budget.
Yes, it ate it up, yes. And I'm hoping I'm going to probably amend that to 2 since I've talked to Bruce, and we're going to pay by check. It may not be even the 2,000. I suspect we can bring it on down further, but
Okay.
it was a scientific wild ass.
You mentioned the projected expansion, and you talked about it before. Could you give us a quick update on where things are with that?
I can. Would Sam Herndon like to do that for us? Sam's been our go-to guy.
Thank you for your time, guys. I came on the board last fall specifically to lend some expertise and knowledge on construction and building a project like this. I used to run a kennel facility myself. When I came on, we looked at the existing facility, and honestly, I looked at buying the facility before the Humane Society bought it years ago and thought it was unusable. They do fabulous things with the building they've got. But we need more space to drive our euthanasia rates down, to give these animals a little more opportunity to find a home. We need more space. To me, it's a travesty every time you have to euthanize an animal because we can't keep it any longer. We're full and we've got more animals coming in and we have to make these hard decisions. We were real fortunate that the 2 lots next to us that we had sold off some years ago were still available. And we're able to buy them back at a very reasonable price. We have raised about, over the years, we've had accumulated about $750,000 towards the development of a new facility. I got together with the architect that's been working with us and the engineer, Willie Sandin. And we sat down and we brainstormed and we looked at it. And what we really need to do, it was not build a new facility, because if we build a new facility on the property we had, toward the old facility down today in a new building, we would have no more capacity than we have right now. So we kind of made a game plan to say, let's buy up the property next door. We have the money. Let's buy it while we can get it. Then let's go to work on a new facility. And what our vision is now is to have 2 buildings. The existing building will become the rescue center. Incoming animals will come there to be evaluated and worked on. We have sick animals and all kinds of things, as you can imagine what comes in. Pound holes from your animal control officers will also go into that building. At some point in that building, they will reach the status of, like, for instance, your animal control dogs will revert to us. Nobody's claimed them. Of course, you don't want them back. So now they're ours, and we can get them adopted, and they're healthy, and we've got them ready to go. We're going to move them to the new building. The new building will be our adoption center. Every animal in that building will be ready to be adopted. They will stay in that building until we find them a home. Once they make that progression, they stay there till we get them a home. That's when we turn them loose to the director and her crew to find homes for them. That will, in effect, basically double our capacity. We're getting ready to start a capital campaign. Our engineers and our architects estimate we're going to need about $1.75 million more than what we've got. That's going to allow us to build a new facility, get it open, and that will allow us to then rebuild or restore the old facility into a zoned facility where we've got an area for animal control holds, we've got an area for sick dogs, we've got an area for, as they work their way up to the front doors, basically what we're doing. We're also in the process of finishing soon, hopefully in the next month, an ICU unit that will be situated so that when the new building's built, it'll be between the 2 buildings. That's for, it's a completely separate facility, completely separate facilities, air handling, everything. To take animals that come in sick, we can put them there till we get them well and not run the risk of infecting the whole rest of the building. We fight that constantly right now, especially respiratory illnesses. We've got 40 or 50 animals in a building with 1 air system in it right now. We've got to get beyond that so we don't have that problem. That's where we stand. It's just the plans are, we don't have a set of plans. We're still working on how we want to build a new facility. We're going to try to button that up this week, get it to the architects. We'll have a set of plans, hopefully in a month or 2, to start the process for to have from everybody and move this process forward.
So you had said that the goal is to lower the euthanization rate. But earlier I heard that rate for dogs is 10%. which is fantastic.
Absolutely fabulous. Really close to no kill status.
But I would guess that it becomes exponentially more expensive to gain each remaining percentage. Is that fairly accurate? I mean, probably to go from 40 to 60%, there isn't a great cost burden. To go from 60 to 80 starts increasing. To go from 80 to 90, now you're trying to go from 90 to 0, or 90 to 100.
Yeah. It's not exponential because if we had them all in one building, it would be. But what we're going to be able to do is evaluate these animals before we move them to the adoption center. We're pretty confident that we can find them homes once we get them over there. We work with a lot of organizations also to move animals to where there's needs. One of the things I learned when I come on the board is that there are parts of the country that really, really have restrictive rules on animals on they have to be spayed and stuff. As a result, they don't have a lot of dogs available for adoption. And we can sometimes move animals to those areas where there's a demand for animals to be adopted. Here we have plenty of animals usually. We really want to work towards lowering the cat numbers also. We want to do something better with that.
Other questions?
I just have did you have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't have last year's budget in front of me, but you've anticipated donations of $117,000 in this budget. Do you recall where you are in this year's budget on the donations? I don't mean the entire donation, but like that one line item.
Give me a minute. I may have that. But I wanted to comment that the ICU is courtesy of the Purina Company and the grant. In May of this year, and you're asking about donations, so I need to go to $5, $6, $7, just shy of $8,000 at this point.
8,000,
Or your
Just shy of 8, and then
8 of the budget or 8 total?
$8,000
8 of the 117,000?
of the 117,000.
Wow. Okay.
As I said, there are no guarantees. We beat the concrete every single day. There are no guarantees of income. It's extremely iffy business to be in. Even the contracts that we enjoy could be, terminated any day, so. But we'll
Gotcha.
get it. We'll
Okay.
get that 117,000. So, and to answer the question, I was sitting down, I don't know if it was Rami or Joseph, we kept our costs down the last 9 years while we saw that adoption rate go up. I don't know that we'll ever get much past 90%. That's considered a no-kill rate. We're always going to have to euthanize a hurt animal or aggressive animal or an old animal. We have 17-year-old dogs turned in, more than you would think, and 16 and 17-year-old cats. Nobody wants them. And we only have one lady who will give them a foster home. So, but the cats, no, it should not, I don't see that it would cost more money.
Any other
We've done
questions?
a really good job of giving people a lot of bang for the buck. I really do.
We also anticipate being able to hold a lot of our our operational costs down. The newer facilities are much easier to maintain,
Sure.
require less manpower.
Obvious.
We're doing absolutely the hardest. Everybody that walks down through the building takes every drop of water from one end to the other and back, and it complicates everything we do all day long. So that's part of the, we're going to, I'm sure, see some increase in operating costs, but we don't anticipate it being, we're going to double the size. We're not going to double our cost.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you all. Thank
I
you,
want
really.
to commend you for the job you do, because you're doing great. My latest adoption.
I know you are a supporter and we do a good job. But you know why we do a good job? It's because we've got partners like this. It's all about community. And I think that the Facebook, the internet, and there's a place called Pet Finder have increased our adoptions and our visibility and community support. So that's why. Thank you.
Okay.
One question, if I
Yeah, go
might,
ahead.
Mayor. What financials have we collected historically besides just the budget?
We collect
This is
the,
my first year with this.
we collect the budget number, but then I think you provide
Always gave us statistics.
monthly amount of animals that come in, and they send those to us. And then we do have the audit this year is a new thing that we asked for.
So we will get an audit from 2016
Yes.
to us.
Your contract year.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could have done it either way you wanted it, and the answer I got was from July
Yeah.
1
To June.
To June.
to June.
Yeah.
Right.
For the current year that we
Okay.
are enjoying.
Okay. That's all I needed. Thank you.
You know.
Thanks, Charlotte. I appreciate the board being here too. Thanks for your service. Been through that facility and now anyone here to appear before the council on any item that's not on the agenda? Hi, Felix.
Hi, I'm Felix Kinsley from 325 North Spring Street. Some of you know me very well and some of you do not. So I guess the last time I was here was that time you gave me that arrow paper about with that article about me. That was
Yes.
4 years ago. So
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a while. And since I guess you were in the parade, I was the parade marshal this past year.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a total shock. I was not expecting that. But I want to thank you, Mayor Rediger, for the recognition you gave because I didn't get a chance to. The reason I haven't been coming over the summer is that it's been so hot. But I really respect all the work you've been doing. I keep up with you in the paper. I watch several meetings on the Channel 993. So.
Yep. Okay. Very good. It's sure
Yep.
good to see you. We haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, well, I plan to come to all the meetings to the end of August until
Okay.
street government starts up in September. So
Great.
thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
And are you wanting a ride home yet?
Yes, yes.
You got one from here. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I always like to have offered one.
All right, very
Thank you
good.
very much.
Anyone else? Quinn?
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time. Since this is a study session, I think we both need to study a little bit. I would like to know what each of your personal concerns are or oppositions to shipping container houses. I know Robbie spoke about toxic materials in the original manufacture process, I guess. Is that still a concern?
I think that for me personally, Quinn, from the residents in Ward 4 that I've talked to, they don't want them next to it.
Mhm.
My recommendation to Scott Meyer was, if we're gonna allow them an RMH and in the county, a manufactured home, a trailer, aesthetically, they're not pleasing to the eye. Residents don't want them, and we still don't know the health risk. These things are not manufactured for human habitation, point blank. So with all that being said, that's it. That's why you'll never get my vote to allow these in the city of Cape as long as I'm on council. Done. End of story.
Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate it. So ultimately, the fact that they're not made for human habitation, they're repurposed. Okay. If we're going to make blanket statements without facts to back up or substantiate what we say in terms of toxic elements that are in the shipping container, I think you're doing an injustice to those of me because I'm the only one that wants to build one. I think you need to have the paint sampled and the flooring sampled to substantiate your argument that there's toxic elements in the shipping container and what proportion they are. The 2016 water report for the city of Cape Girardeau has lead, chloroform, arsenic, strontium. However, those are in allowable percentages. But when you use a blanket statement such as toxic materials used in the manufacturing process, you're not telling the whole story. Are those relative in terms of the mass of the entire material of the shipping container? You know, I think that needs to be argued
And what are they being manufactured for?
to ship goods and
Where
to
at?
ship goods.
Where are they shipping?
Asia.
Okay, so we're talking about shipping containers
Mhm.
that are being manufactured to withstand corrosion and ocean going and all
Mhm.
this. They are not manufactured to live in. They're not. Done.
Why is it that the United States military doesn't do anything to their shipping containers? Okay, yet troops can stay in the shipping containers for the whole deployment, matter of fact, with nothing more than a window air unit and a front door to replace the openings.
Are they brand new?
They're one trip,
DOD
nothing,
budget,
you're never gonna find them.
DOD budget, they're not going and searching the same place. Their procurement officers aren't going and searching the docks of San Francisco to find shipping containers to put our troops in, to put those window air units to the side of them.
You're
I want to
100% right.
point out, one thing that you commented on, Quinn, was the toxins that are in our water. The
Mhm.
problem is, we have an abundance of scientific data on what is safe and what isn't safe to be in our water.
I agree. I agree
Does not
100%.
have an abundance of scientific data on what is safe to be in a house that was previously used as a shipping container. We
I agree
don't
100%, and
have-
that's all I'm asking for. I'm asking for time for the city to compile actual factual data to support the claims made against the shipping containers. That's all I'm asking. If you want, I'll bring you paint samples from my containers that are already cut up, ready to go.
So as you heard, there will be a public hearing with
Yes.
planning and zoning. I encourage you to go to that
Mhm.
meeting, and if they make a recommendation to the council, I would recommend you come back to the council at that point.
And
I'm
we'll have another public hearing.
I think I'm still a lot
Here.
of time though, correct? For
Pardon?
tonight? Are there any other concerns that you guys have?
My concerns are strictly from the neighborhood areas that say, I don't want them in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
And it is not even going to the finished product. They just don't want them being shipped in and dumped there and knowing that's what's going to be sitting next to them. That's the biggest thing that I've heard from citizens.
Okay, I understand.
And that's not have anything to do with statistics as far as lead or what's in them or anything. It's this, I guess we would call it a stigma or whatever of that.
I understand that.
But
However, you know, the
Quinn-
majority of the
but Quinn,
city
we're,
is.
we're not going to debate here, okay?
No, I'm just asking
We've got
what-
public hearings to come back and do it, and I think you've heard plenty from council and I'm sure some citizens too. And you probably heard some positives too. And then you've got one unit that you're going to do. So we'll be ready. Planning and zoning will be ready to hear from both sides at public hearing in June. We put the 90-day moratorium on. It's not going to be 90 days. But we've got the times now and the weeks for P&Z, for staff, and for you to prepare for the public hearing.
Okay, so in the public hearing, is it going to be balloted? Is it going to be balloted, I guess? Is there a way to push this towards a public vote to be put on a ballot?
No.
There's not. Okay. All right.
You can, on your own initiative, if you're not satisfied with the decision of the planning and zoning commission as well as city council, you can start an initiative petition.
Sure.
If you want to.
Well, we've already, like I brought in last time, we've got 560 people that already did surveys, plus
Yeah.
the KFL. So, yeah, I guess, so is that ultimately what I would need to do, is just start the
That'd be-
ballot now? or
that'd be the
petition now?
After this, that would be the process, yeah.
Okay, and so how many names do I need on a petition?
I can't answer that.
It's all outlined in our charter and it depends on how many voted in the last election and stuff like that. but There's
You
just
can
not a
get,
number.
you can get that number through the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just call you?
Article 8 of the city charter.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, guys.
Anyone else? Any item not on the agenda, David? I asked, we've had some talk about having candidates for of our various boards coming, and that's on, this one is on the agenda tonight, but I asked David, and he was gonna come, and I asked him, since we're gonna discuss it here, to go ahead and come at 5 o'clock, so I'm gonna recognize.
I
David
appreciate your
Kentrock.
opportunity, Mayor, City Council, to introduce myself and ask for your consideration to be on the Parks and Rec Board. Service is something that I've done since I was a patrol boy at Jefferson School and just retired out of the service 30 years. And so I served my country, and now I'm looking to serve in my community. Families here and kids. My last job with the Navy, I was the state liaison for emergency management, so I'm familiar with the floods. And I get to meet Miss Julia for the first time and ask for consideration. I'd like to continue to serve, and that's why I'm here.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you for being here. I'm just going, anyone else?
Ken Stilson is
Good evening. My name is Jeff Green, and my address is 764 Perry, obviously Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And I'm looking to go on the Parks and Rec Board. I've been a citizen of Cape for better than part of my life. I'm 49 years old, and so over 25 years I've been living in the city of Cape, and I've enjoyed the facilities, the Parks and Rec facilities for years, and I've wanted to give back and get a little bit more insight and seeing what's going on with the facilities and see if I can help out in any way.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming in. Anyone else? Hi, Ken.
Hello, how are you all?
Didn't see you there sitting behind.
My name is Ken Stilson, and I also am asking your consideration for the Parks and Rec Board. I first moved to Cape Girardeau in 1979, where I went to school here, and then I lived here for 5 years, and then moved away, and then we moved back in 2001, and I am the chair of the Conservatory of Theater and Dance. My wife and I have always been very civic-minded. When we first moved back, I was on the Vision 2020 board for the city. I was the vice chair of that. And then I worked with the city and city council at the time to write it was the All-America City event that we did out in California, and I've also worked with the school and school board on numerous occasions for various things, and I have got a daughter who is very active in the community. She is a good friend with your stepdaughter, and with Morgan, and anyway, but we're very active in the community, and very active with the River Campus Summer Arts Festival, which I'm
coming up.
Yeah, coming right up. So anyway, but I just appreciate your consideration.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I would add that his daughter hit a hole-in-one at the JC Golf Course earlier this year.
Yeah, she's just learning how to play golf just this year. She got a new set of golf clubs from the place out on Lexington. Anyway, the very first time she
That
hit
makes
that
me mad.
club-
It took me 60 years. Anyone else for a board? I see we've got recommendations, and we'll talk about that when we go through the agenda, but I see 15 names on there, and I see Julia, I see quite a few that I'd like to say yes to for that board. What we're gonna need in the next year is a lot of citizens, even if they're not on the board, just as a citizen, helping us work toward PRS 2 that votes in April of 18. So these interested parties are not on this list because they just want another meeting to go to or another job. They are there because they're interested. And so all of these, even though there are only 3 that were here tonight, all of these will probably be getting some calls to help as we move along. But thank you, all 3 of you, for being here. Anyone else to speak for any item that is not on the agenda this evening. Okay. Scott, if you'll take us through the agenda.
All right, we have three presentations tonight. We have the National Historic Preservation Month proclamation that we'll do, and then Public Works Week proclamation and awards, and then the recognition of Kevin Orr's retirement with the police department. So we'll be doing those three tonight, followed by communications and reports. Council, you have items you'd like to report tonight?
I want to talk about Main Street opening, Tunes at Twilight, Gus Macker, Sports Complex, the National School of Character with Ruth Ann Orr, and I've asked Ruth Ann to be with, I'm going to kind of tag team that one with Kevin's retirement tonight. A major award that we need to be proud of, and for all the work that's gone on there at that school. Montgomery Bank is where they're buttoning up the two roundabout adoptions. That's my list. Others? Did you steal everybody's thunders?
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll probably talk about utility billing and the patience of the citizens, but also the dedication of our customer service reps as they have gone through a transformation, and that's going well, but we're still in the midst of it. It's not until we actually do a couple of months that we'll really have an assurance that we feel like we've got the conversion done. But they've really worked hard, and people have been patient. Last week, last week, at the end of the week, and the first part of this week, the lines have gone down considerably, and talk a little bit about that and appreciate what's going on there. Anything else?
I want to know if Bruce could tell us about what happened today there.
Well, we could probably talk about that between him and Wes.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Wes?
I mean, I don't.
It's really a Wes story more than
Yeah.
Assailant. I'm sure that Wes was able to apprehend him quickly.
Yeah.
How we go about getting repairs made at the airport, and how that's going to affect the airport moving forward.
So this morning, a little before 8 o'clock, we got a call that there was a gentleman acting very strangely around the Walmart area. Before we got there, he stole a truck, and we started getting phone calls that he was going southbound on 55 at a very high rate of speed. Took the exit, ended up in a field behind the RV repair place there. Then saw that there was an RV that had just pulled in with a gentleman trying to unhook his car from the back of the RV. So he took that RV, drove it through the gate at the airport. Sorry about your gate. And totally destroyed the gate with the RV, and then decided to try to hijack a helicopter, but he evidently doesn't know how to fly helicopters. So then tried to hijack an airplane, and they told him no. And about that time, then the RV guy was upset enough that he tackled him, and then our officers arrived on scene pretty shortly after that.
Good job. I'm glad to hear none of the officers were hurt.
Yeah, fortunately, I mean, he was, we believe, very high on some kind of narcotic, and so it could have turned out a lot worse than it did. I mean, a lot of property damage, but nobody injured, so that's a good thing.
Okay, good.
Besides the gate, other property damage at the airport?
No, fortunately, very, very lucky that no other property or people were injured in the process, because the two gentlemen were outside the hangar, right by where the gate is, getting a plane prepped to go for a flight when they saw it all happen. And he's correct. They came over to him and asked him for a flight. Said that he was doing a reality TV show, and it just wouldn't cost them anything. But Mike, McCray being as smart as he was, took the keys right out of the plane and said, "You're not taking this one." And then, as he mentioned, the RV guys came and took care of it later. Fortunately, it was just the gate, but it did, all of our motors and our card readers are on, unfortunately, the opposite side of that. It's a long gate, and it literally wiped out everything when the RV went through.
So, would the city's insurance pay for repairing something like this, or is this something we're gonna have to allocate funds for?
Well, I'm sure they'll look toward the insurance of somebody, whether or not they're yeah. So anyway, I'm sure our mobile permit will be engaged, and we'll seek for various methods to get it. Obviously, if it's not, then we'll have to appropriate, but
More to come. Okay,
all right.
back to the agenda.
All right, our consent agenda tonight, we have our number 2 is the operating of the gas station with on Cape Rock Drive, second, third reading of that. Then we have a second, third reading of the senior housing there at Silver Springs Road. Number 4 is the establishing of stop signs on several roads. And then number 5 is the second, third reading of the subdivision from 1 to 2 there off of Bloomfield Road. So those are the second, third readings. Then we have the resolutions, starting with number 6. This is the hitting facility that we have the cooperative project with the university. I think Brady is here today. If you have any questions for him, what basically happened was the bids came in under bid on the project. That allowed us to basically, for the same money, include the hitting facility in there and then make it a dual use instead of just a single use facility. And so city teams and the people that rent and use Capitol will also be able to use the hitting facility. And so it's really a win-win for everyone. And I don't know, Brady, if you had anything to add.
No, I mean, certainly the improvements from the hitting or from the field initially have been very well received and have given us an opportunity to really have something special for our university. But the city's summer teams are going to take advantage of that, and I think this is another opportunity to be able to leverage joint funding to be able to create a really nice joint use facility. So certainly appreciate your consideration for that.
Okay.
And you're gonna have ribbon cutting at the field coming up.
We are on Friday, 5:45-ish. We'll do a formal ribbon cutting. We hope the weather holds. And we'll have a free tailgate there too. So we're hoping that everybody comes out for that. It's actually our last weekend series.
I'm going to be out of town. Sorry to miss
We'll
it.
send you a picture.
Sorry to miss it.
Thank you. Number 7 is a resolution authorizing the construction of the Cape LaCroix trail widening. This runs from about Hopper Road down through Arena Park. The widening of that trail, it's a high use area for the trail. And so we're looking forward to having that. I think they're also taking care of a few little drainage problems along the way on that project.
Those other 2 bids are not included with that.
No, they're not.
Is that going to be
No, we
part
don't.
of PRS2?
We didn't have the funding for that, but now then we have a pretty good estimation of how much it will cost. So that
Cost,
might
it'll
be
a part of
PRS2.
PRS2. Gotcha. So since you bid one, but you bid them all, so you know about what to include on them. Very good.
Absolutely. Number 8 will be a indemnity agreement for the Church of Nazarene, put their sign out on our right of way there on Independence. 9 is a agricultural lease out at the airport. Number 10 is a release of the lien for the Federal Home Loan Bank grant program. This is our program where we help owners fix up homes, and then we have a lien. And then this particular one, they're selling their home, and so this allows them to go ahead and pay that off and the lien to be removed, which they will do. Number 11 is KLG Engineering for design services for the Independent Sidewalk Project. That's a long-awaited project to increase our sidewalks up along Independence. See people that are walking there all the time, so that's going to be a good addition.
Any anticipation of construction time on that? date yet? This year, next
It'd
year,
be pushed to get it this year, I would think, with the design.
next year? Too soon
We'll
to
see.
call? Okay.
Number 12 is our asphalt overlay program for this year. It actually came in under our engineering estimate, so that's good. Number 13 is the agreement with Pepsi of Mid-America for an exclusive beverage and vending contract at the new Sportsplex. This is pretty typical for large venues like this to have an exclusive. They are putting in all of the drinks and vending and all that is provided for them by free, and then they actually pay us additional each year. So that's a good, helps us keep the costs down. Number 14 is the breathing apparatus grant. If you recall, we talked about this during the CIP. Put in for a grant for the whole county, and this allows us that we did get the grant. So now then this allows us to move forward with that, and it will be good for all firefighters in the entire county. We're kind of that lead agency in that regard. Number 15 is accepting water improvements at Dollar Tree. Are there any items in the consent agenda that you'd like to have removed or you would like to abstain from?
Need to abstain on item number 6, recusal because of my employment.
Others?
I'd like to abstain from number 2 due to financial.
Get those? Others? No, we have two new
State,
ordinances.
state both of those as after the second for discussion, so. Okay.
Two new ordinances. The first one is a ingress and egress to the new police station project. This gives us access from the Kings Highway direction for a back entrance to the new police station. And number 17 is a stop sign at Spruce and Boxwood. Talked about appointments, and we have appointments for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, which you saw 3 candidates, and I think you have a recommendation. Mayor.
Recommendation is, you saw on item 18 from the staff and board for 2 of them were here, actually, Ken Stilson and David Cantrell. As I said, a lot of great candidates there that we need to use as we move along. Those were the 2 that came forward as recommendations. Okay, any other business to come before us? Any other comments on the study session, council? If not, we do need to have a closed session tonight for legal actions, litigation, and confidential communication with our legal counsel pursuant to section 610-021, number 1. For the motion.
So moved.
Gunn.
Second.
Second by Guard. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And we will reconvene at 7 p.m.